President Trump just wrapping up a ceremonial swearing-in ceremony with his new Supreme Court Justice, Brett Kavanaugh. The president striking a sharp tone in his remarks, saying that he was apologizing to Kavanaugh on behalf of the nation, and also saying to Kavanaugh, you were proven innocent. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell now calling the fight over Kavanaugh an adrenaline shot for Republicans in the midterm. One seat that he is watching very closely, Senator Heidi Heitcamp in North Dakota. Could she lose the seat after voting no on Kavanaugh? A Democrat in a very red state, Dana Bash, is out front.
Heidi Heitcamp having fun, walking in a classic North Dakota parade.
Hi there.
Her smile masks her political reality.
We're going to win this.
She is the most endangered Senate Democrat and knows voting against Brett Kavanaugh probably didn't help.
It's been a tough week for me because, you know, the political rhetoric is you can't vote that way if you expect to come back. And I tell people, Ray and Doreen Heitcamp didn't raise me to vote a certain way so that I could win. They raised me to vote the right way.
Applause here, but elsewhere, reminders that President Trump carried the state by 36 points.
I don't know how we're going to ever get over that.
So you're obviously a North Dakota voter. You're disappointed with her vote against Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Her Republican challenger, Congressman Kevin Cramer, well ahead in the polls, said he was shocked.
I really fully expected her to vote yes.
Why?
Because she'd been building her entire campaign, really her entire brand, as the bipartisan senator from North Dakota.
Heitcamp voted for Neil Gorsuch and planned to do the same for Kavanaugh.
I had the office begin to prepare a statement saying that I was voting for him.
Really?
Up until that hearing.
Wow.
No,
That changed everything.
It did for me.
She didn't believe him and worried about his temperament, especially after watching a second time with the sound off.
We communicate not only with words, but we communicate with body language. We communicate
And
with
what did
demeanor.
you see in his body language?
I saw somebody who was very angry, very nervous, I saw rage.
Cramer is appealing to voters who see all this as victimization run amok.
The politics of personal destruction with this broad stroke being just accepted is offensive to a lot of the women in my family.
You should be so grateful that your mom's never been victimized and that your wife's never been victimized and your daughters haven't. But people in my life have, including my mother. And you know, to suggest she's not strong because she's a victim was like a trigger for me.
Heitcamp is trying to focus elsewhere.
It's high tech.
Super high tech.
Yeah, and it's also really expensive.
Hurting farmers like Tom Brasowski, whom she invited us to meet. He says China's soybean tariffs, retaliation for Trump's trade policy, already cost him $100,000.
How is it going to work out? I haven't heard a plan yet.
Cramer says he opposed Trump's new tariff plan against China at first and lost.
Once the president sets a strategy, a global strategy, I think it's better if we get behind him, unify, and win a trade war fast rather than undermine the entire process.
6 years ago, Heitcamp won by a single point. Her warning this year, the shrinking middle means more gridlock.
If someone like me can't get reelected, what does that speak for other people who want to be moderate, or does it just encourage people to go to their base? I think that's a real concern.
For now, Heitcamp is determined to be herself. When a band plays, she grabs the mic.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine.
And Kate, Heidi Heitcamp is not only probably the most endangered Democrat, she also is a very, very key player in any question about whether the Democrats could potentially take control of the Senate. Most Democrats don't see a path to doing that unless Heitcamp wins her re-election here, and it's going to be tough.
No wonder you're there, and all the pressure is on her, and all the eyes are on her. Great to see you, Dana. Great piece as always. Thanks so much. Let me bring the panel back with me right now. Patrick, Dana lays it out so perfectly, kind of the stakes here, but she was already down 12 points to Cramer. Right. Do you think with what you see kind of as Dana was laying out, the writing's on the wall for Heitcamp?
It's going to be very tough. I mean, she has a terrific reputation in North Dakota. She won, yes, by a sliver, but she's got a lot of respect on both sides there. The problem is, right now is whether she can refocus the debate back onto local terms, onto issues like tariffs and the way that they're hitting kind of the soybean belt in North Dakota. I mean, Kevin Kramer talked to my colleague Jonathan Martin, this weekend, and made that comment about how Me Too was like a, quote, movement toward victimization. Kramer has a habit of saying, making remarks that are really striking. And some people, look, there's a debate about this, there's a dispute about this, but whether Heitcamp can refocus things on issues is unclear.
Scott, let me bring you in on this, though, because that gets to a big question here, and that gets to kind of where is... And I know, don't tell me it's every race is different. Just go with me on this. Where the conversation is. Donald Trump says he wants the election to be about him. When Mitch McConnell says that he wants to thank Democrats for the tactics that they used during the Kavanaugh proceedings because it was a shot in the arm, it's the adrenaline shot they needed. Republican voters are energized, but how energized? Enough? Do you think you could ride the Kavanaugh vote all the way to the midterms?
Well, based on what I'm seeing and hearing and feeling from Republicans and talking to strategists and people who are polling these races, there has been a massive boost in Republicans finally focusing on what life would be like if Democrats were to take control. This hearing exposed a very scary future under Democratic control. So I think it reminded Republicans what's at stake. I think in a place like North Dakota, though, take Kavanaugh out of the equation. She was already running seriously uphill. I mean, Trump won the state by 36 points. She votes with Trump about half the time. I mean, clearly her voting record is out of line with where most of her constituents are. So Kavanaugh aside, I think she was already really trying to be something. She's a liberal running in a state that wants a conservative, and that was always going to be a problem for her.
Joe?
She's actually not a liberal. She's a moderate, Scott. But I just want to say, to go back to what Patrick referred to, the interview that Kevin Kramer did with Jonathan Martin, where he said he railed against the Me Too culture of victimization, but he said something kind of awful, which is his wife and his mother and the women in his family want no part of it because they're not victims, they're tough women. Well, that really struck a nerve with a lot of women. He is in danger of turning himself into the Todd Akin of 2018 with that remark. And Senator Heitcamp also lost it, I believe, with Jonathan Martin, because she heard that as saying her mother, who was sexually assaulted, was not tough. That victims are not tough. And so I think he's stepped in it now. It's going to be tough for her. It was going to be tough before.
And she didn't. And to be fair, like she didn't lose it emotionally, but she reacted in a very direct way that I think could resonate with a lot of women and a lot of men, which is, this has happened in my family,
right? And
making judgments about other people and whether they are strong enough or victim enough is dangerous.
And I wonder, the impact of, let's talk about the comments, Caitlin, from the president tonight. It seems very clear, and I want to know what you're hearing, that the president today would like to keep this fight up, meaning make it appear that it is still a fight of Democrats versus the president, even regardless that Brett Kavanaugh is now currently sitting on the Supreme Court.
Very much so, and that's what the White House is going to see if they can hold on to over the next month or so before the midterm elections, is this energy that they feel has energized the Republican base that they were worried weren't going to really turn out in the midterm elections. And now President Trump seems to have shifted from this realization, this recognizing that they could lose the House, to now saying he believes that there are going to be Democrats voting for Republicans this fall. So we'll expect him to keep that front and center at all the rallies he's going to this week, starting in Iowa tomorrow night.
Unclear where the president got that polling data, but we will check it regardless. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.